My name is Sandra. I'm an ordinary housewife. My husband, Jim, and I had no plan to have a wedding. It wasn't like we couldn't afford it, but we thought it was a waste to spend so much on a one-day event. Instead, we wanted to spend the money on nice appliances like Dyson and Smack, or have a nice dinner out on the weekend. We thought it was much worth enriching our own lives. However, my in-laws were against the idea. Moreover, they suggested having an extravagant wedding, so we had a hard time dealing with them. Jim was the only son, so it was understandable for his parents to be excited. After we gathered some ideas to somehow dissuade the in-laws, we came up with a wedding photo shoot. Even if we splurged, it would be a few thousand, and the photos will be nice memory keeping. We can show to our future kids. Wow, you were beautiful, Mom. I'm still beautiful, right? And to have such an interaction would be fun. I actually want to see you in a wedding dress. A photo shoot is a great idea so that I can look at it anytime. Oh, thank you. We were quite excited. When we were about to book, Jim suggested, "Why don't we invite our parents to the shooting? There's usually not much opportunity to take photos with them. I mean, if you're okay with it." That's a great idea. Let's do it. My parents will be thrilled too. I readily accepted this suggestion. I never imagined that it would turn out to be such a disaster. That evening, I called and invited my parents to the wedding photo shoot. They gladly accepted. Jim called his parents next. So, we decided to go for a wedding photo shoot. Why don't you guys join us? Right after he asked, I heard his mother groan over the phone. Instead of having a wedding, you're only gonna have a photo shoot? I can't accept such a ridiculous idea. Sandra came up with it, didn't she? Never mind. We agreed to spend our money on something more meaningful, instead of wasting so much on a wedding day. What a foolish thing to say! You're the eldest son and the first to get married among the cousins. We need to show our status. Do you want to bring shame to the family? You're exaggerating. No, I'm not. What's wrong with Sandra? Why did she come up with such an absurd idea? This is why the poorly educated person is troublesome. It's a fact that I didn't go to university. I thought it wasn't useful for me to go for the sake of just going. And I've never regretted having only a high school diploma. Since I started working early, I was able to meet a variety of people. And in fact, I met Jim, my husband, at a business meeting. If I had gone to university, I'm sure there was a higher chance of us missing each other. However, if I argued with her, it would have led to a bigger problem. So I just kept my mouth shut. It was me who came up with the idea. Stop talking bad about her. You're right. You're both ignorant. What have I done wrong to have a son like you? Just like your father, you are stupid. After she called us offensive names, I have no choice now. I will put in $20,000 so you must have a wedding. If not, I'll never speak to you again. She clamped and hung up. Troubled, we consulted with my mom. I understand what you guys are saying, so I don't disagree, but I also don't think what James' mother says is wrong. It's indeed nice to see many people giving blessings to my own child, and it's a right occasional to be the center of the stage. There's not much other chance to introduce yourself to the crowd. Indeed, If money's the only issue, your dad and I will help you as well. It doesn't have to be a big wedding hall, but there are other smaller venues like restaurants, you know. You're right. Let us think it over. I only had an image of weddings being big and extravagant, but a smaller scale sounded nice. I sought the light at the end of the tunnel. I was glad to have spoken with my mom. With age comes wisdom. After the conversation, I realized that my parents also wanted us to have a wedding. Jim and I reconsidered and decided to have a small wedding. After about a month of searching for a venue, we decided on the same place my colleague had their wedding. I was told that I could get a referral discount, which was the crucial factor, but I wasn't gonna tell my in-laws, who would think I was stingy. My parents were happy to hear about the venue. Next was the in-laws. It sounded like my father-in-law had picked up the phone this time. Hey Dad, after talking with Mom, Sandra and I reconsidered and we decided to have a wedding. Oh, that's better! If there was no wedding, your mom and I would have been ashamed. We were going to cut ties with you. You two are exaggerating. But anyway, I just wanted to let you know, we're going to decide the date and other things later. Jim was about to hang up when he froze at what his dad said. The venue has already been decided by us. Huh? What do you mean? We don't want to be embarrassed by having it at a shabby place. We decided on having it at a well-known big wedding hall. And then his mom took over the phone. My acquaintance is the owner of the hall. Your dad and I got married there. We already rebooked for you. Wait, what the? This is for your own good. Besides, if Sandra was to decide, she would just choose a place recommended by her friend, probably with a referral discount. How did he know? Who cares? It's not a bad thing to save money. No way! All the relatives are coming. We won't let you have a small wedding at a random venue. Jim tried hard to protest, but his parents were adamant and didn't budge. It was becoming hostile. Wherever is okay for me. I inserted myself and ended their arguments. I'm really sorry about my stubborn parents. He looked quite upset. No worries. They must be very proud of you and want to introduce us to everyone. It's an honor. They sounded like they only cared about showing off their status. They have always been pretentious. You're thinking too much into it. A little while later, Jim's dad gave us the name and address of the hall, and we went to have a look. It was a big and pretty famous hall with a long history, but it also had an old-fashioned feel. Well, all establishments were more or less like this everywhere. To be honest, I preferred the one I found, but there was no point in complaining. We finished the viewing led by the staff. The staff treated us with respect and kindness, but I assumed that if they could take a last-minute booking, it wasn't a popular venue. It must have been a trendy place in the 70s. Seeing my subtle disappointment, the other venue was better, I'm really sorry. He apologized. Don't be sorry. I don't have an obsession with weddings from the beginning. We weren't even gonna have one anyway. I tried my best to cheer up my apologetic husband, and then we started going over the details with the planner. However, Jim's parents wanted to interfere with everything. First, they complained about the guest list. It seems the number of relatives is too low, doesn't it? I gave you the list. The list had so many names of people I had never met. There's no point in inviting strangers. Maybe you don't know them, but they are important to us. They must be invited. I don't want to invite people I don't care about to our wedding. Besides, even if they come, I doubt that they will give us a wholehearted blessing. Jim pushed back hard and convinced them by promising to send our wedding photo. They even criticized my guest list. These are the names of your friends, right? Right. Any problem? If they are your friends, they must not be so important. The names sound low class anyway. What? I yelled. Jim's mom continued to say, What? I just stated the truth. I'm sure they won't worth acquainted with. Can you take them off of the list? I don't want the level of the wedding to be downgraded by them. She said whatever she wanted to say. I was outraged inside. I could take insults about myself, but it was intolerable to hear about my good friends. Besides, what she said was totally wrong among my friends. She kept meddling with other things like the wedding cake and dinner course, but Jim rejected her ideas by saying, We will decide. The final blow was about my wedding dress. I just wanted a simple and sophisticated dress. I'm not interested in wearing a big puffy dress with a long trail. It must be difficult to wear and walk in it. Moreover, the designer brand is out of the question. My simple dress will be more than enough. It looks more extravagant if you wear a big dress. Besides, the guests would think that we're too poor to afford a design brand. We are done if we show weakness. She sounded more concerned about looking good for her relatives than the dress itself. I almost agreed with her because she sounded like it was a life or death matter. Stop meddling with our wedding. Jim declined her request once again. When all the plan was getting solidified, we were called to visit Jim's parents. Don't need to go. They're not gonna tell us anything worth anyway. Jim was reluctant. I didn't feel comfortable dismissing them, so we decided to visit. We're busy, so let's make it short. As soon as we arrived, Jim suggested. His dad began to say, It's about your wedding. See, this is why I don't want to see you guys. How much do you need to criticize our wedding? Let me finish. We forgot to put one person on the list as he wasn't sure about his schedule. Who? Mr. A. He's a politician. Huh? But why? I've heard the name somewhere. I was wondering from where. Jim gave me the answer. There was a guy giving a campaign speech the other day. You know, the one with the loud voice? I remember the politician, who used to be an NFL player and often appeared on TV. I actually knew him well. Why is Mr. A coming to our wedding? We never met him. I was able to get him to attend through my business connection. Besides, we would look well established if a politician was present. My relatives will reaffirm my status. He looked proud of himself, and Jim's mom gave him a peck on his cheek. Jim and I were flabbergasted. Jim's dad looked at me. And what about you? Who do you invite? Even though you don't have a politician acquaintance, you must know someone powerful. No, I don't have a plan to invite anyone of any sort. No way! Jim's mom exclaimed to my reply. Don't you have anyone? She pressed. No one like that among my guests, I mumbled. Jim's dad cleared his throat and said, "A daughter-in-law who doesn't have any connection is no use to us. How do you think you can fit into our family? I guess it's the difference in status between my family and yours. It is what it is." He degraded my parents. Of course, I was ready to respond, but Jim was irritated, yelled, "Enough! Never mind. Let's get out of here, Sandra. We'll never come here again." He grabbed my hand as he stood up, but I pulled his hand and said, "Hold on." "Why?" "I understand what you guys are saying. I don't have such connections, but I put some names you might recognize on the list." "What?" "As my friends, you know." I shoveled the table arrangement in front of Jim's dad and pointed at one of the names. His eyes were wide open as he saw it. "No way, it's she." You're familiar with Jennifer?" "Of course, she's the daughter of Mr. A. She's in many movies." Jim's mom took the paper out of the trembling hands, and she widened her eyes as big as his. "Oh my God! How do you know such a famous person?" "She's my childhood friend. We lived on the same street and used to play together. Of course, I know Mr. A as well. I normally call him by his nickname, so I didn't realize earlier. Mr. A used to babysit me in the past." Both of them looked dumbfounded when I showed them a few pictures. They were taken at a birthday party of Jennifer. One picture showed Mr. A in between Jennifer and me, holding our shoulders. This must have proved to them that I wasn't making up a story. "By the way, what else? You say you invite Mr. A through your business connection, right?" "Right." "There's a misunderstanding. I asked Jennifer to bring him. Even before you used your connection, he confirmed his attendance." "What?" Jim's dad was astounded. You see, I had been quite upset with them criticizing our wedding, especially insulting my parents and friends. I unfolded what had been going on with my in-laws and Mr. A, pleaded with him to attend the wedding amidst his busy schedule. "Sure thing. I can't turn down your request. Of course, I'll be there." He cheerfully accepted. I invite Mr. A and Jennifer as my good friends, so I don't plan to ask them to give a speech and attract unnecessary attention to them at my wedding. "Wait, since they're making time to come all the way, might as well." "That's why. I want them to simply enjoy, since they are rearranging their busy schedule just for me. They are my dearest friends. I don't give a hoot about your status in class. If you still want to complain, don't attend our wedding, okay?" I put a big smile on my face. They were too stunned and couldn't say anything more. Jim and I left them right after. Since then, they had never tried to meddle with us. It must have been such a shock to them, as I crushed their pride. Better throw such foolish pride into the trash. It's worthless, you know. A few days later, they came to give us a $30,000 check. They entreated us to accept the money. Since they pushed us to have the wedding we didn't want, of course I tried to decline, but they didn't budge, so I gratefully accepted, and we had a wedding. Thanks to the check, we could throw a lavish party and entertain Mr. A and Jennifer to the fullest. Such a gorgeous wedding! The course was amazing! My other friends were also pleased. Jim and I were very much content, but we were surprised to see his parents having a good time. They finally realized how foolish they were after the incident. They apologized to all of their family and relatives for their ill treatment in the past, so they looked relieved. After the wedding, they apologized to us for everything. I forgave them and we moved on. 3 years later, I gave birth to a girl 2 years ago and we're a family of 3 now. Jim's parents live nearby. They often come to see their first grandchild and take initiative to babysit her. Mom, you got breadcrumbs around your mouth again. Jim's mom and I became like friends. And the two of us even take short trips together. I never imagined us having a good relationship as such 3 years ago. I'm grateful to Mr. A and Jennifer for giving us the opportunity. I hope that the 3 of us and my in-laws will have a long, happy life together.
My name is Maria, and I'm a 30-year-old housewife. As my husband Jack works hard, I decided to support him from home, and we have been married for 5 years now. We don't have children, but we are living happy life together. One day, while I was doing housework, I suddenly received a WhatsApp message from Jack. I wonder what he wants to say and see one short sentence. I love you so much. When we were dating or early in our marriage for about 6 months, he used to express his love for me. But after 5 years, this has disappeared. Therefore, I'm more surprised than happy to receive such a message. My husband sometimes expresses affection, and he's kind to me when he's in a good mood. But recently, it has been rare. To add, right now he's at work. I wonder whether something that would cause him to act unusual has happened. But I think, well, if he's in a good mood, that's fine. And I replied, thanks, me too. Jack usually only sends about 2 responses a day, but now I see that his response is very quick. I'm so happy you feel the same way, Natalie. I'm not letting you go tonight, is what he was written. What? Natalie? Who's Natalie? I'm Maria. Unable to understand, I freeze for a while, unable to reply. I receive another message shortly after this. I want to spend the rest of my life with you, Natalie. It's a miracle that you're in my life. My wife doesn't even work and she stays at home as if it's her right. I should never have gotten married. You're the one who comforts me and you're such a hard worker. You're nothing like my wife. Okay, so this isn't supposed to be addressed to me. You're cheating on me, I see. For some reason, I'm much calmer than I would have expected. I think I need to start gathering evidence. While Jack still thinks he's messaging Natalie, so I decided to continue the conversation. As he has allowed me to be a housewife, I have to admit there are some times when I know I can't bite back at Jack. But his having an affair is a completely different matter. I continued texting him, pretending to be Natalie. I sent him a message saying, do you really hate your wife that much? And he replies, yeah, I do. I've never loved her even once. Then why did you get married? It didn't have to be her, right? For the money. She's crazy rich. Is she? Yep. Well, her family is. That's why I'm nurturing her as an obedient housewife. And when her parents are gone, I'm going to inherit so much and leave her. I am in shock. He was neutering me to be obedient? True. His recent attitude toward me was terrible, and I could tell that it had changed after we got married. I realized that there was no love there at all, and I'm finally starting to feel angry. I originally loved my job and always worked hard. However, Jack asked me to quit when we got married. So I left the company and became a housewife. Even so, he's saying that I'm staying at home as if it's my right. I never asked for this. I need to do something with this anger. So I decided to talk to a private detective to gather evidence. I changed my WhatsApp username to Natalie and sent him another message. But once you have money, will you be able to divorce her? Jack must be so delighted to receive messages from Natalie. He responds straight away. Of course I will. I'm gonna say she used all my money doing nothing at home. And the inheritance will be compensation. With all that money, I'm going to marry you. Kiss, kiss, kiss. I'm disgusted at the kisses, but I replied, do you really think it'll all work out that well? No problem, she doesn't know that I'm cheating. And all she will be able to do is apologize to me. So, do you have the divorce paper ready or something? I actually already signed everything. There was a time when she wasn't doing housework properly, so I signed the papers, saying I would submit them if the same thing happened again. Yes, I remember. One time Jack thrust the divorce papers at me. It was when I was sick and had a fever. And he was furious that I hadn't been able to cook that day. Papers were framed and hanging on the wall in our bedroom. I guess they're a sort of tool to brainwash me. True, since then I didn't think I've ever cut the corners with the housework, however sick I feel. I feel sorry for myself, understanding that I was acting in exactly the way that Jack wanted me to. But this means, if Jack has signed everything, I can use the divorce papers whenever I want. This makes me feel much better. I have to let him know he's going to regret it if he continues to make fun of me like this. I start to get quite excited, and I enjoy messaging my husband, pretending to be his lover. At the same time, I realize that I have lost all the love that I had left for him, and I end our WhatsApp conversation. So, let's get ready to send this deceiving husband to hell. Even though we sent each other several messages, Jack doesn't seem to have noticed he was texting the wrong person. And he comes home and spends his time at home how he usually would. 6 months later, when I come home from grocery shopping, Jack's in the living room waiting for me with a sneer on his face. Here we go, I think, and he says, I'm done with you. I want a divorce. He looks down at me while he says this. You're always at home, spending my money, not even doing the housework properly. I have no words and just say, yeah, as if I don't care what he has to say. Jack must think he's being made fun of, and he looks annoyed. I've been patient all this time, but I wanted you to say you'd go out to work if you cannot even do the chores properly. I have no idea what this man is on about, but I'll try not to make a funny face. To be honest, I am trying my best not to laugh. Jack continues. It's mentally tough for me to be married with you. I'm actually seeing a psychiatrist, you know? He goes on in his incomprehensible way. Yes, please do continue seeing a doctor and maybe you can stay in hospital. Thank you very much, I think. Wait a moment, my parents are still alive and healthy though. Does he want to get divorced more than the money? I care so little about my husband that I'm calm enough to have those thoughts in my mind. You'd probably have better life away from me anyway. I guess he just wants to say I'm the one to be blamed for this divorce. You weren't working at all since we got married, so all our money is mine, you understand. It seems he has said everything that he had wanted to say, so I slowly began to talk. Okay, I understand, a divorce. But I actually have something to tell you. I won't listen even if you say you don't want a divorce, you know? I'm inheriting $3 million. My parents say they want to leave this amount to me while they are alive. Jack must be in complete shock that he stares at me silent with his mouth hanging open. $3 million to you? That's part of my property too, right? Of course not. They're leaving it for me personally. We can't, of course, use the money together if we continue our marriage. But you have nothing to do with it if you are getting a divorce. Such a shame, isn't it? Then Jack replies with, "Okay, no divorce then." To be honest, I just mentioned divorce to make sure you understood the stakes. He must be crazy. It's so obvious that he only cares about the money. If he's going to change his attitude the moment that I mention $3 million, he's just so stupid. "Oh, did you? Thanks so much." "No problem. But I'm afraid we're already divorced," I say. And Jack is so shocked that he says, "Huh?" in a funny voice. I never knew he could make such a noise. It's the first time I'm hearing sound even after 5 years of marriage. I've already submitted the divorce papers. The ones that you kept in the bedroom, I signed them and everything. Hearing this, Jack goes to check on the frame in our room. "They're gone. Where are they?" As I said, I've submitted them. This man really doesn't understand a thing, does he? You don't want to be with me. You want to be with Natalie, right? With this, Jack is clearly panicking. I tell him about the WhatsApp conversation that we had, and it seems he hadn't realized at all and start checking his phone. He's turning blue. I do my best, trying not to laugh. It's difficult to say which day I had a harder time trying not to laugh, today or our relative's memorial service. Thanks to you not realizing you'd messaged me instead, I was able to gather so much evidence. I thought you were having an affair with just Natalie, but I found out you're actually seeing so many other girls. Jack was not only seeing Natalie, but he was in a relationship with many others too. And one of them was a friend of mine. I found out after speaking with the detective that Jack was seeing a close friend of mine as well. I later asked this friend if this was true, and she told me that Jack started flirting with her at our wedding. I was lost for words at this. I looked at Jack's and see he's trying to come up with some kind of excuse. But it's too late. There's nothing he can do. The divorce is fixed already. I've already reached out to all your lovers. I see that some of them are married. So let's see how much they'll request you to pay, shall we? With this, Jack, who's already in blue in the face, turns even paler. You think I have that kind of money? This is unbelievable. True, I told your company too. So I guess you'll be losing even more money. Of course, I reached out to Jack's company as well. He was having an affair with some of the girls at the office too. So they have a right to know. Well, even if you lose all your money, I guess you get to spend the rest of your life with at least one of those girls. So you'll be happy, won't you? With this, I left the house. I can confidently say that I have no regrets and no feeling toward Jack anymore. Later, I found out that Jack is fired. Some of his lovers were married, as I said, and he is having to pay their husbands a compensation too. He cannot make all the payments with just one job. So in addition to find a new workplace, he's working part-time late at night. It's all his own fault, so I actually think he should be having a harder time than this as punishment. After the divorce, I returned to the company that I previously worked in. I am loving my job and working as hard as ever. However, I haven't worked in 5 years, so I think myself as a beginner, and I'm hoping to learn from my colleagues. 5 years with my ex-husband made me realize that marriage is not everything. So I hope to be able to tell the right man apart if there is a next time. But for now, I'm putting my all into my work.
My name is Millie, and I'm 30 years old. I got married 5 years ago to my husband, who is 5 years older than me. He works for a leading corporation and is calm, patient, and a very kind husband. We got pregnant with our first child in our first year of marriage, and I was the height of my happiness. However, after I left the company when I became pregnant, my husband's gentle attitude changed drastically. "Hey, where's my food?" One day, when my morning sickness was so bad that I couldn't get up, before I knew it, I had dozed off until late afternoon. When Stephen comes home, I tell him this, and he suddenly starts to lose his temper. "What? What were you doing at home all day? Do you think I'm stupid? Morning sickness is not a disease, you lazy thing. I'm tired after working all day. Hurry up and get food ready." And from that day on, he began to criticize the way I do the housework every day. "Can't you even do something as easy as this? You really are an idiot." This is what Stephen would always say. "I don't know how you survived it all the time if you're so stupid. You really don't know anything, do you? What can you do?" If I even try to argue with him slightly, he loses his temper and curses. When I try to express my thoughts though, he would say, "I don't care what you think, so just shut up," and scold me. So I can't even say what I think anymore. I am shocked that my husband had suddenly changed. At first, I thought he just woke up on the wrong side of the bed some days, and that he would return to being a kind husband again soon once our baby is born. However, my hopes disappear when I see that even after our child is born, he never went back to being the kind husband that I knew. However, I still love my husband and could not hate him. I also didn't want to admit that my marriage was a mistake. Anyone would say that I was being harassed. It seems he showed his true colors after our marriage, but at that time, I didn't even realize it. I thought he had changed because I was not good enough, and I began to fear that my husband would abandon me. 5 years pass in this state. We're blessed with 3 beautiful children, but Stephen only gives me $500 a month as living expenses. We lived in company housing, so the rent is deducted from his salary, and our water and utility bills are also paid by direct debit from the bank. My husband says that $500 is more than enough, but buying milk and diapers for the children, as well as daily necessities and groceries, makes it very tight. I start using my savings from when I was single to pay for our living expenses. But this too has run out, and we are forced to live a very difficult life. When Stephen comes home from work and sees the cheap dinner I had prepared, he says, "What? This is all there is for dinner? Can you cook something more decent? You're at home every day, wasting your time. Can't you even cook a proper meal?" When I tell him I didn't have enough money to buy the ingredients, he replies, "Huh? I hand you living expenses every month. It's a housewife's duty to make ends meet. That's what all the housewives do. You really can't do anything, can you? Stop wasting my money, you parasite." He won't stop yelling. To aid, my husband has been having an affair for years. At first, he was meeting his lover in secret, but recently, he no longer bothers to hide anything. Even at times like this, I'm afraid that he would leave me. I think I'm completely brainwashed by my husband. One day, I'm sensitive to Stephen's mood in this way. and watching my children grow was the only comfort that I had. However, even if I want to dress my children in cute clothes, I can't afford to buy any. Even if my mom friends invite me to lunch or tea, I cannot afford to take them. It's fine that I don't get to hang out with my friends, but I feel so bad for the children. Stephen would say that all housewives were making ends meet with $500, but the mom friends around me didn't seem to show the slightly bit of sorrow at all. They are always dressed well and are lively, and their children seem to be happy too. I lose confidence in myself more and more, feeling that this is all my fault and that I'm a bad mother. One day, however, I make a bold decision. I talk to one of my mom friends, who I am very close to. When she hears what I have to say, she is truly astonished and says, "None of that is your fault, Millie. Your husband is wrong. He's totally harassing you." I had never even considered Stephen's actions as harassment. "There's absolutely nothing wrong with you, Millie. You're neither stupid nor incompetent. You're a very good mother." Thanks to my friend's kind words, I'm able to gather up my courage and decide to negotiate with my husband for a raise in our living expenses. "Huh? What are you talking about? I'm giving you more than enough. When are you gonna stop wasting all my money?" "But the kids are getting older. There are things I have to buy them, and I need money to spend time with their friends' mothers too." "Not in a million years. You just stay at home, take care of kids, and do the housework. Don't talk big to me when you're so incapable." In my husband's ear, the children started crying. "Shut up! You keep them quiet." I want a divorce. Before I knew it, this is what I am saying, and I am surprised at my own words. I never had such thoughts before, and it came out ever so suddenly. Stephen stops, looking surprised for a moment, but immediately says, "Do you really think you're in a position to say something like that, you parasite? Well, okay. I'll be trying to not see your sad face anymore, but you're returning the money you've been squeezing out of me. $500 a month, so $6,000 a year, making it $30,000 in 5 years. And of course, I'm keeping the children. You get the $30,000 ready and leave on your own." With this, he leaves the house as usual. I hug my crying children and I cry with them. The youngest one is only 11 months old. Of course, there is no way I can afford to pay $30,000, but more than that, I need to do something about the children. I would rather die than be separated from them, but I don't have the confidence to spend any more time with a terrible husband. I'm so overwhelmed that I finally called my mom. My dad passed away when I was in college, so the house I grew up in doesn't exist anymore. My mom is now living with my brother and his wife in the house they built, and this is a reason why I couldn't rely on her. Even when I was having a tough time, I didn't want to worry her. When I tell her what happened on the phone, she tells me off for not noticing her earlier, and I heard her crying. After that, she tells me that my brother and his wife are both worried too, and that I should come to their house as soon as possible. But before that, Mom tells me to gather evidence on Stephen's affair, and so I start recording his actions from that day on. Receipts of him buying presents and brand products to his lover, as well as hotel receipts of them staying together. In addition to credit card statements, are all carelessly thrown in the garbage, so it is easy to gather evidence. My mom hires a lawyer who speaks to Stephen. He is saying he doesn't want to get a divorce. Even if we were separate, he says he is keeping custody of the children. I feel this is going to take a long time and decide to get ready to take the children to my brother's house. However, while this is happening, we find out that Stephen has stomach cancer. As it was detected early, they said it can be cured by surgical removal. Stephen goes to stay at the hospital. Life without my husband at home is truly peaceful and refreshing, and I feel so calm all the time. Perhaps it is because I have become more cheerful, but I feel that my children also seem to be livelier than usual. Seeing my children in such a state, I become even more certain that I need to get a divorce. I have no regrets leaving my husband, who says his cancer is due to a stress from my actions. I'm determined to raise my children on my own and make them happy, no matter what. Then, Stephen suddenly softens his attitude and he says he is willing to divorce me. It seems that by finding out about the cancer and having his life in danger, and by overcoming it, he has realized that he wants to start his life all over. Now that he has been given a second chance at life, he wants to reset everything, let go of all of that is unnecessary, and live life with the people that are truly precious to him. Even in a situation like this, it's all about himself. I don't mind what he says about me, but to call the children unnecessary too? I am just stunned. However, there is no reason for me to throw away this opportunity to get divorced. I swiftly get things done before Stephen changes his mind. He seems to have no regrets letting go of the children anymore, so I asked him to sign the pledge that states he will never see them again. This is convenient for me. Although I will not be receiving child support, he is going to be paying a large amount of compensation, and I am also requesting a compensation to his lover. I'm finally able to divorce this man. Stephen is concerned what everyone will think, so he tells his colleagues and the neighbors that the moment he got ill, I was the one who left him. I'm frustrated at how selfish he can be, but more than that, I'm just pleased that I get to leave him. I'm finally free. My life is about to begin. Filled with a sense of happiness and freedom, I leave the house where I had lived with him for all those years. Shortly after my departure, I hear that Stephen married a lover he had been seeing for many years. It seems she works under him at the office. I rent an apartment near my brother's house and am raising the children with my mother, brother, and his wife's help. I also found a job. It has not been easy, but I am much happier than before. 6 months later, my mom tells me that she received a phone call from Stephen's dad. Has something happened to Stephen? I hurriedly call his dad back and find that Stephen has gotten a divorce again. Fortunately, his cancer has not recurred, and he's still alive and well. He was living a peaceful life with his new wife, but it seems that after a while, he started harassing her too. She left the house immediately and divorced him soon after. She also made a scene at the company that they both still working and told everybody about Stephen's attitude, which led him to quit. It seems he has moved out of the company housing, is paying more compensation to his new wife, has no more money, and has returned to his parents' house. He has lost all his energy and is saying he wants to see his children and start over with me again. His dad couldn't stand seeing Stephen in his state anymore, so he decided to reach out to me. I feel so angry. I'm finally free, but Stephen appears in front of me like this, as if a ghost. He had an affair for so many years and got married after finally getting rid of me, but got divorced after 6 months? It's all his own fault. But instead of showing remorse, he wants to see his children and he wants to start over? Who in the world does he think he is? Who's the parasite now? I'm speechless. I somehow managed to hold down my racing anger and tell Stephen's dad that I intend to never see him again before I hang up. However, a few days later, on my way home from work, Stephen is waiting for me at a park near my house, and I feel like my heart is about to stop. He looks pale and exhausted. At first, I couldn't tell who he was. "Millie, I know now. You're the only one for me. Our children need a father, right? A lot happened, but let's start over. You must be having a tough time on your own. You know, I can do the housework for a while." Don't be ridiculous. I can't help myself, and I interrupt him. What do you mean, let's start over? It would make sense if I said that, but you have no right. I have no intention of starting anything over with you, and I'm thrilled to be away from you. I don't care what's happened to you. You say I must be having a tough time on my own? I'm so much better than when I was married to you. Stephen is startled and has his mouth hanging open. It's the first time that I'm talking back to him like this, so this response is understandable. You just leave. I don't know since when you've been here, but if you think you can waste your time like this, why don't you go job hunting or something? You're an adult. Don't get your dad to phone me. And I don't know how you found out where I live, but if you come anywhere near me again, I'm calling the police. That's all. Goodbye. I leave him standing there. I'm scared and furious at my ex-husband for suddenly appearing in front of me like this. But remembering the look on his face, I feel much better. My children and I have not seen my ex-husband since. The 4 of us are living peacefully and happily, and I believe there is still so much to experience in life. I'm going to stay positive and work hard until my children grow up.